Central Minnesota Sports Hub. It's the Morning Sports Desk, presented by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and streaming on YouTube.
It is the Morning Sports Desk on a Wednesday, the 22nd of January. I'm CJ Baumgartner. Zeke over there, our guy joining us here in place of Corey Tackman while he's off in luxurious tropical Florida for this great time.
Yeah, he was texting us last night. Looks like he's having a blast down there. At least it's warmer than here, right?
It's warmer than here, but I think he was expecting that discrepancy to be like a 70-degree difference and not like a 30-degree difference.
But he'll take it. Yeah, he snuck in the hot tub last night, and there for those not following the weather patterns down in Florida, it snowed down there.
Snowed a lot.
And he sent us a selfie yesterday. I said on my show earlier, I wasn't sure if Corey was in the Gulf of Mexico or if he was at Dower Lake, because you really couldn't tell from what was behind him. It didn't look enjoyable.
He was at a beach, and yeah, who's to say? Who's to say which beach it was?
They're probably camping at Dower Lake and just making us think that they're in Florida. They're doing a staycation.
Exactly.
Those liars.
They're saving money, and they can just pretend to be like, time zone, data, roaming, whatever.
Yep,
like you just use whatever to get out of it. Yeah, at luxurious Dower Lake. So yeah, that's a tough week for Corey. But we're here talking some local sports on the Morning Sports Desk, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Zeke, recapping a game I had last night between Menahga and Sebeka, two teams that are rivals. Of course, they're combined for some sports, but again, alone for others. And it's always a good rivalry between those two schools. They get up to play each other. It means a lot for those communities. I don't quite know what the right rivalry name is. I was talking about this on the program yesterday. Like Highway 71 rivalry, but that seems a little too generic. Is it like the Red River rivalry or the Red Eye River rivalry? Because, it goes through Sebeka. Is it like the St. Urho rivalry because of Menahga? Like, I don't quite know what the proper naming situation is for that, but at the very least, it was a fun matchup to see last night. And early on, Menahga jumping out to a quick 4-0 lead. Menahga is a very young team, a lot of sophomores. They have a couple seniors in there, but a lot of sophomores, some freshmen sprinkled in, and they're kind of just trying to figure out what they have for the future at this point in the season. But they the big thing that Coach Capan talked about for that team is we are getting the looks we want. We are getting the shots we want. We just need the shots to go in. And in the first half, they got a lot of good open three-pointers, and they could not cash in on them. And they just couldn't get those baskets when they needed them. But they jumped out to that quick 4-0 lead. Sebeka would then run out to a 17-3 run to take the lead, and they never really looked back from there. Every once in a while, Menahga would get the lead back to or the deficit back to within 1 point, and then Sebeka would always have that counterpunch to keep them at bay. Menahga was waiting for that one kill shot's not the right word, but that one shot to just put them ahead. They were had a chance to take the lead with 3 minutes to go in the first half, and then in the second half, 12 minutes to go, it was a 1-point game at 36-35, and then Sebeka ended up finishing the game. And really, they went on about a 30-15 run, and that kind of gave them the distance necessary to eventually close out that game. For Sebeka, Max Lake finished with 40 points, a lot of them coming at the free throw line. He made about 10 trips to the free throw line last night, Zeke, which is insane. Corey and I last month talked about a game between Wadena, Deer Creek, and Park Rapids area for girls basketball where there was 30... if I'm remembering the counting in my head, I have this sheet right in front of me, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. There were 35 free throw attempts, and I didn't think I'd see that beat for a while. Sebeka got to the free throw line 37 times.
There it was.
In that game. Oh my gosh. Max Lake, of course, had a lot of them, but there was a few others that made their trips. They ended up making 21 of them, and they got to the line. They got their free throws in, and that's a big reason why they were able to get out to that lead. Menahga had some guys in foul trouble that did impact some things, but overall a win for the Trojans. They improve on the year to 5-8. Menahga goes to 1-14, and we play on. Of course, you can find the full broadcast schedule online at WadenaRadio.com to see where we're going tomorrow, because we have some Staples Motley Wrestling on tap that I'm sure you're excited about, Zeke.
It's going to be a great one. Yeah, I think it's Becker, Park Rapids area, Staples, Motley, and I forget who the fourth school is, but
I believe
another.
it got moved to just a triangular.
Is this it's a try? Okay, yeah, but still some heavy hitters at the Nest tomorrow. That's going to be a good one because I think Staples Motley's ranked number 1 in Class A. The latest guillotine rankings I saw, they're above Chatfield.
I mean,
it's kind of been Chatfield, Staples, Motley 1-2 all year, but I think Staples is number 1 in the rankings now.
The Staples Motley wrestling team, number 1 in the state.
I am shocked. Well, not that shocked.
Yeah, that's it's been a good year for them. And of course, maybe they factor the football game in with the rankings. Like, well, they didn't do in football, so we'll give them the edge there.
Yeah, well, Jackson County Central's top 5 too, so we'll be seeing them again very, very soon, I think.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk a little bit more about that on tomorrow's show. Again, you can find the full broadcast schedule online at wadenaradio.com. Zeke, before we get into some state sports action, Kevin O'Connell got a huge, potentially, extension for the from the Minnesota Vikings to be their head coach for a long, long time. But before we get into that, let's talk about a place that's been in Wadena for a long, long time and has been doing a pretty good job keeping our bellies full. It's the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. They are proud sponsors we hope they're proud sponsors of the Morning Sports Desk with CJ and Corey. And they have a new app. It's got some new features. Dine, earn, repeat. Ranch rewards are huge. The more pizza you buy, the more free pizza you could potentially get if you have your Ranch rewards count active and going. Downloading the app, super easy. It's free to do. And of course, you can scan through that menu. That way you don't have to stand at the front of the line if you decide to order in and go, what do they got? What do they got? What do they got? You got that menu right there for you. And of course, you can get that for delivery or pickup or whatever you need. But also, why don't you, whether you're getting it carry out or going in to eat, Zeke, you check out the FunZone Arcade. It's got a ton of games. There's the Godzilla VR and a couple other things that they've talked about that's been huge for that place. I know they were doing some jersey giveaways there as well. Lots of things to check out. Not only the great buffet, which is making me hungry because I haven't ate lunch yet. Great buffet, chicken, mashed potatoes, pizza, breadsticks. You move on to the desserts with the cactus, with the dessert pizzas and the ice cream as well. That's great. Then you can go to the arcade and blow off some steam a little bit, or at least get the kids away so you can enjoy a nice little meal at the Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. Proud sponsors of the Morning Sports Desk with CJ and Corey.
I've got the app pulled up right now because I definitely have the Pizza Ranch app on my phone, and I want to highlight the $30 meal deal. You get the big cookie, 2 medium pizzas, and wings for $30. It's our go-to, but you have to get the crispy cupped pepperonis. That's the way to go. Is the ones that curl up.
Oh yeah,
they put a little grease in there, stuffed crust, pepperoni. I'm salivating here. Cupped pepperonis. That's the way to go.
Can you put an order in for us?
I can. Yeah, with the app, it's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's lethal.
Pizza's no joke, by the way.
I know.
That's so good when it's warm, and then you add a little ice cream on top of it.
To be fair, I do have half a sweet potato I've been eating here this morning, so I want to.
So that really makes you want to order.
I want to ditch the sweet potato and go across the street to Pizza Ranch.
All right, Zeke. Kevin O'Connell got paid. The team announced yesterday that the coach agreed to a multi-year extension, although they did not say how many years, and we don't know the salary figures yet. That's pretty tight-lipped with a lot of coaches. They usually don't disclose that information. I think it's due to the CBA. Like, player salaries have to be reported on a lot more than coaches' salaries because they don't count against the salary cap and all that stuff. But the Vikings got Kevin O'Connell their extension. Allegedly, this deal was agreed upon over the weekend, and they just didn't want to say anything yet because the playoffs were going on. They kind of wanted to wait so they could have a day in the middle of the week where it could dominate the media cycle and not get buried underneath everything. Kevin O'Connell not getting traded. I think that's the biggest thing. Zeke, how worried were you Kevin O'Connell was getting traded?
Not worried at all. Absolutely zero worries that KOC was getting traded. I mean, he's the premier young coach in the league. He's been here 3 years. He's got 2 postseason trips. Just finished a a 14-win season. He's got a 13-win season under his belt, 34-17 record with 2 trips to the playoffs in his first 3 years in Minnesota. There's no way that Kwesi's letting this guy walk. He's not trading him to somebody else and let somebody else reap the benefits of everything they've put into this guy, you know. So yeah, not a chance he was going anywhere else.
Let's remember the Jay Glazer report right before week 18, where he's like, the team might trade Kevin O'Connell. And of course, Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk, who is just, that dude's just a clown. Like that guy, that guy's an aggregator who somehow gets a platform on NBC. And he put that out there that not only were the interests out there, but also that maybe, and I think him and Glazer, maybe it wasn't him, but maybe you aggregated from Glazer, where they were like, I don't know, there's some discontent that he didn't get extended a year earlier. And now, you know, he didn't get an extension before the season. And oh my goodness, there's tension. And of course, O'Connell said, no, I want to be here. But that don't let facts get in the way of creating clicks on social media, Zeke. So that was put out there for a while. And even before all that, there was a tweet out in November. I can't remember her name, but she covers the NFL for ESPN. And she put out there that, like, this is just her own thought. This wasn't reporting or anything, but she's like, I don't know if the Vikings would do this, but they should, or I don't know if the Vikings would do this, but the Bears should consider trading for Kevin O'Connell. Like,
the Vikings would have never given Kevin O'Connell in the division. We have Ben Johnson to deal with. He got the job for Chicago, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator. But yeah, there's no way. And if you're Kevin O'Connell, why would you want to go anywhere else?
Right.
You've got one of the best, some of the best offensive weapons in football, and Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson kind of had an off year coming back from the knee injury. You've got the quarterback that you hand selected, J.J. McCarthy, waiting in the wings. There's no reason to go to any of the other jobs that were open for people that would have traded for you. Do you want to force a trade to the New York Jets? Gross. Or the Giants or the Saints or the Raiders or the Jaguars? No, you're not going to any of those places. You're staying here.
Wear any Vikings apparel at his postseason press conference. What does this mean?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and Jimmy Butler wore shoes with Phoenix Suns colors on them at the Miami Heat game last night. Let's speculate about that a little bit more. Now, no reason for him to want to go anywhere. I mean, he's already one of the best coaches in the history of this franchise. He's been here for 3 years. He's continuing. He's going to continue building what he's put together. There's no reason for him to even want to go anywhere else, I don't think.
Right, exactly. The one thing this does say, and I think there was some speculation. I know you mentioned there was a Charlie Walters report in the Pioneer Press that maybe it was 5 years, 60 million, which would be interesting. I'll be honest, I don't care about like the salary number so much because it's not my money, but the years are very important because with Zimmer, he got like a 3-year deal, I think was the extension that he got. And when you look at, Leslie Frazier, when the Vikings made the playoffs in 2012, he got just a 1-year extension. It was a pretty short-term deal and kind of indicated that like he didn't have a ton of job security, but hey, you made it to the playoffs, we'll give you a bonus kind of deal. And if he gets what's reported on as a 5-year deal, that not only says, hey, good job for making the playoffs, that says you are here a while. That says we want you here and we expect you here, because he has, whether or not Darnold comes back or not this year is irrelevant to this conversation, because J.J. McCarthy is the future starter of the Minnesota Vikings, whether it's in 2025 or 2026 or midway through 2025 or whatever. But that is this guy is going to be the head coach of this football team for a long time. And we want to make sure that not only is he compensated as such, but that the world knows that like this guy is under contract and we want him here for a while. Because if you have a good head coach, you don't let him go. There's a reason why Mike Tomlin still has a job, why John Harbaugh still has a job, why Belichick held on to the job as long as he did. If you have a good head coach, you don't let them walk out the building. And it's just that kind of thing. I mean, the Packers don't fire head coaches. There's other franchises across. The Rams are never going to fire McVay. Like, Kyle Shanahan's not getting fired by the 49ers. Sorry, weirdo 49er fans or content aggregators out there. Like, if you are a good head coach, they don't let you go. And the Vikings are saying, we feel like we're in that camp of the Vikings are going to have to be bad for a long time to get a coach fired.
Yeah, and I don't think it happens with Kevin O'Connell, because he's shown time and time again that he can take whatever pieces KOC gives him and he can turn it into a winning club. I mean, beginning of the season, I picked the Vikings to have 4 wins this year. This was a rebuild year. This was Sam Darnold redemption year. Wait for McCarthy to maybe take over midseason. He gets the knee injury in the playoffs, and it's like, well, here we go. Then Jordan Addison has his off-field issues that still have to get worked out, I think. And you're thinking, who's going to step up? And you're getting just random defensive guys, Van Ginkel from Miami and Grenard from Houston. It's like, what are we? We're just putting little tiny pieces together here, and then look what he and Wes Phillips and Brian Flores did, is they put together a 14-win team out of basically Justin Jefferson and not much else.
Right. And exactly. And I think Kevin O'Connell should get credit for the staff. Obviously, Brian Flores and the defensive staff firing Ed Donachelle, bringing in Flores and that defensive staff, obviously. But on the offensive end, he also has set up a very quarterback-friendly environment, not just with his presence. And then you have a Wes Phillips, offensive coordinator. He was there with the Rams. Wade Phillips, obviously, connection, their longtime coach. You know, the pedigree is there. But then also the fact of you bring in Josh McCown as quarterback's coach.
No.
And there's a couple other things that happen that kind of I just got the reference.
Yeah.
And there's some other things that you just set up this quarterback environment. You don't just say, hey, we got to be good on quarterbacks. And you put your money where your mouth is, and you set up this environment that was so friendly to whether it was going to be any of the quarterbacks that were on the Vikings roster, whether it was going to be any quarterback that they were going to draft, they were going to be put in a good spot. And Kevin O'Connell put his money where his mouth is on that. And look, there is flaws with this team. There has been flaws with O'Connell. The trick plays obviously were something that talked about early in the year. He did move on. He did drop that. But if you look at, the constant, hey, where are the trying to take his deep shots, where are the dump offs? There was a little bit of like, he probably got out coached by McVay. He probably didn't quite make the right adjustments against Detroit. Like, those are fair criticisms. But at the end of the day, Kevin O'Connell needs to be this head coach of this football team for a long time. So it's not perfect. He does have some things that they have to figure out. Maybe leaning a little bit more in a running game, maybe getting a little more creative in the run game. Like, there are a couple things that are still room for improvement. Winning a playoff game maybe would be a good one. He's 0-2 and kind of a couple duds in the playoffs. Finishing the year strong, which they haven't always did. There are some things that you hope improve on, but he's also a very young head coach, and you hope that he can learn. And if he's your head coach for 10, 15 years, he'll have many more opportunities to get some playoff wins. And I think that's what excites the team. You mentioned the rebuild. They got through the rebuild. They shedded all the bad contracts. They got through all the players that needed to get out of here. And while it's not a complete team and they still have some work to do to build the roster, especially on the defensive end, they have salary cap space. They have the quarterback of the future picked out. They have Sam Darnold potentially who could come back and still play high-level quarterback next year. Like, there are some things that the Vikings still have in place to be competitive still in the short term. But he was competitive through times where they were supposed to be bad. I mean, he would have made the playoffs last year if Kirk Cousins' knee didn't blow out, or if they somehow, if they just don't choke against the Broncos or something like that. Like, he's that close to getting into the playoffs with Josh Dobbs as well. And so all of this to say is just a long-winded way of saying Kevin O'Connell's quarterback of the future is the head coach of the future. This is just an indication of that. Before we talk about Hall of Fame stuff, Zeke, I know we want to talk head coaching salaries quick.
We do. I've got the list pulled up here. So word on the street is 5 years, $60 million for Kevin O'Connell, which would make him the 10th highest head coach in the NFL. Can you name the 9 guys that would be above him?
Okay, that
in terms of current head coaches.
Okay.
Right now, there are 9.
I'm going to say up there, probably you got a new hire, somebody that's come in, Jim Harbaugh on that list.
Jim Harbaugh is on this list. He's tied for 3rd at 16 mil.
Okay. Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan is also on this list. He's at 14 million. He'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this list.
We got 2 of the 9. Sean McVay.
McVay is 5. He's at 15 mil.
Okay.
So you've got Jim Harbaugh, you got Sean McVay, you've got Kyle Shanahan, 4, 5, 6.
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid is number 1 at $20 million a year, which he definitely freaking deserves that.
A lot of cheeseburgers he can buy with that.
Exactly.
I'm gonna say
you're missing 2, you're missing 3, you're missing 7, you're missing 8.
Okay. How about John Harbaugh? He make that list? He's got
John Harbaugh is on this list. $12 million. Same number as Kevin O'Connell.
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin's also on this list.
Okay.
16 million. He's number 3. So you're missing number 2 and number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 and 7.
2 and 7. I don't want to say it's anybody from the NFC North and AFC North. We've already gotten through kind of the 2 big head coaches. Out west, I mean, there's
one AFC and one NFC.
Is Sean Payton on that list? They probably gave him a lot of money.
He is. They gave him $18 million to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos. He's number 2.
Okay, for all that to get steamrolled in the playoffs by Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
You're missing number 7. It's an NFC team, and this is going to be the hardest one to get. I can guarantee it.
Because I feel like it can't be a coach that's in the playoffs. It's got to be somebody who you're like, they paid that guy all that money, and they still couldn't get it done. Probably not the NFC North then. Probably not the NFC West. It's got to be the NFC. Is it the NFC South though? Because Todd Bowles probably doesn't make that much money. Dave Canales probably doesn't make that much money. Dennis Allen just got fired, and I don't think Raheem Morris is getting paid that much money. But I've kind of ran out of options here. I think I gotta finish. I gotta go with my gut. It's probably a weirdly high number because this guy probably got extended pretty quickly, which is probably why he didn't get fired. Is it Brian Dable in New York?
It is not.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought I had this big, long train of thought. How about Todd Bowles?
It is not Todd Bowles.
Not Todd Bowles. Okay. Mike McCarthy's fired, so he probably doesn't count on this list.
No, he is not on this list.
Okay.
Like I said, it's tough. I would never get this.
Dan Quinn?
Nope, not Dan Quinn.
Nick Sirianni?
Not Sirianni.
That's that. Okay, got all the playoff teams out of the way. LaFleur?
It is not LaFleur. No, that's a good guess too, but it is not Matt LaFleur.
Not LaFleur. Campbell probably hasn't gotten that big of an extension yet, so it can't be Campbell. I'll go with anyway. Dan Campbell?
It is not Dan Campbell.
Okay. All right. Well, we've burned.
There is a Dan Campbell connection though.
A Dan Campbell connection. Okay. Ben Johnson?
It is Ben Johnson.
No way.
$13 million.
Oh my gosh.
To coach that dumpster fire.
Oh, have fun. Have fun.
Ben Johnson is making more money in the NFL than both John Harbaugh and Kevin O'Connell. Happy Wednesday.
Ben Johnson and Kevin O'Connell have the same amount of playoff wins as head coaches.
That's true. That's true.
But John Harbaugh's got a Super Bowl, man. That's crazy.
He does. Yep.
All right. That's crazy. I can't believe that. I mean, I can because like new head coach, the Bears need that just shows how bad their organization is that they have to overpay to get.
They went and got their guy before somebody else did.
Accepted right away. So they're like, don't even go to Jacksonville.
Yep. Reed, Payton, Tomlin, Harbaugh, McVay, Shanahan, Ben Johnson, Harbaugh, O'Connell. Your top 9.
Wow. Okay. All right. Good to know. All right, Zeke. Hall of Fame balloting is in. We have 3 new Major League Baseball Hall of Famers. Ichiro headlining it along with CC Sabathia. And who was the last one?
Billy Wagner.
Billy Wagner.
Got it.
The fact that we had to pause for a second.
Yeah, I almost said Bobby Wagner, but that's different.
That's a linebacker for the Commanders.
That's coming down the line here. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Zeke. Some Hall of Fame takes. I want you to obviously to get to the Ichiro, the one voter thing in a second, but give me your Hall of Fame takes. I got to step out for a second here. I'll be back in a second, but give me your Hall of Fame takes while we got you on the mic.
Sounds good. I'll talk to myself here for a couple of minutes. I'm a huge Hall of Fame guy. The baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown is my Disney World. I've been there twice, and if I could go back every summer, I would. There's just no better place for a baseball fan than Cooperstown, New York. It's a small little community right on the lake. I mean, you can walk around and there's random Hall of Famers and random baseball players and just an awesome time. I was out there for Tony Oliva and Jim Cott's Hall of Fame induction a couple of years ago. Went back last year for Joe Mauer's Hall of Fame induction, and when I was there for Tony and Jim, I was like, this is never going to happen again. I mean, David Ortiz was in that class too, so 3 former Twins in that class. And it's like I'm never going to get back out here again. There will never be another Twins player going into the Hall of Fame. And lo and behold, Joe Mauer on his first ballot, snuck in by the skin of his teeth, becomes I think the first ballot Hall of Fame catcher since I think Pudge Rodriguez and Johnny Bench and Joe Mauer are the 3 names there. And so I love the Hall of Fame. I love the history. I love the debates that surround Hall of Fame conversations and just everything Hall of Fame. You can see behind me, I've got some postcards of the Hall of Fame plaques over there. I've got more stuff over here and just so much Hall of Fame. I love the Baseball Hall of Fame. And then they sometimes do kind of dumb things, specifically the writers that get people into the Baseball Hall of Fame. 5 new guys, CC, Ichiro, Billy Wagner in yesterday. Then you have Dick Allen and Dave Parker finally going in on the Veterans Committee. So there'll be 5 inductees into the Baseball Hall of Fame this summer. Ichiro was a no-doubter. The fact that he wasn't unanimous, we'll talk about that in a second, is absolutely crazy. I mean, he has batting titles. He has the MVP. He led a team to 116 wins, which is the major league record. He had 242 hits in a season, which is the all-time record. Gold Gloves, All-Star games, everything you're looking for unanimous selection. But Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't unanimous.
That part I still don't get.
Tom Seaver wasn't unanimous, and on all these guys. And so who's going to get that besides Mariano Rivera, who undoubtedly deserves to be unanimous because you say name the best closer of all time, it's Mo. When you say name the best outfielder of all time, is Ichiro the first guy that comes to your mind?
I find it crazy that the only unanimous Hall of Famer is a reliever, like a closer. In fact, like that's the one. But there's a couple different theories that I've been going back and forth on between the one person who didn't vote him into the Hall of Fame and the fun favorite that I don't believe, but it's fun to poke online, is that it's Lavelle Neal from the Star Tribune, who even acknowledged as much on social media yesterday of like, you guys, not me.
Yeah, it's not me. I learned my lesson. Yeah, Lavelle didn't vote for Derek Jeter. Jeter was 1 vote shy of being unanimous. And for Ichiro and Derek Jeter to be in that conversation as the only guys to miss by 1 vote is absolutely ridiculous because Ichiro was by far the best right fielder when he was playing. And there's the running joke that Derek Jeter wasn't even the best shortstop on his own team. Once they brought A-Rod in and moved him to third base, A-Rod arguably still the better shortstop. And you've got Jeter playing in an era with Cal Ripken Jr. and Nomar. Miguel Tejada won an MVP. Jeter never won an MVP. Justin Morneau made sure of that in 2006 when he edged him out. They're just...
I mean, well, Derek Jeter got World Series rings, and of course, World Series rings for a baseball player means so. That's the part when, like, there is a couple things in my mind of like, there is a writer out there who went, well, Ichiro, he didn't play his entire career in Major League Baseball, and then also the fact that he made the playoffs with the Yankees towards the latter part of his career when he was in New York. I think he played with Jeter, or did he play?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, my daughter's first game was a Yankees game that had Jeter, Ichiro. I think CC Sabathia started, and A-Rod was at third. So
yeah, exactly. So like,
she doesn't care. I do though.
He's a guy that has made some playoffs with them, I think, but that might have been the time when the Yankees weren't very good towards the end of Jeter's career. But either way, like he didn't really have besides the 2001 team, I should say, they had the best regular season of all time. And then
Jeter beat him.
So that like the postseason is something people talk about it with Mauer all the time, except it didn't matter. Mauer was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but like there's that aspect of like, he didn't have the rings. He didn't have like these big moments, whatever. Although he did have a walk-off home run against Mariano Rivera. So that's something.
Not many people can say that. He had a front row seat to Torrey Hunter, Robin Barry Bonds in the 2002 All-Star game. He's right there. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a great story from Mike Sweeney talking about
Google it.
meeting Jeter or meeting Ichiro. Google that one.
Yep.
That's my one theory, is that there's some guy that's out there that feels that, but then also is like, Well, some of these writers just revel in being the one that's be like, I don't think so. He's not Babe Ruth. I mean, whatever.
Babe Ruth had like 83%.
Exactly.
Because he had just retired and they didn't know whether or not to put him in yet or make him wait, and he barely got in.
Right, exactly.
He and Walter Johnson both barely got in on that inaugural class.
This is the fun. Here is my fun theory that I don't know if I believe, but maybe the Occam's razor should have me believe, and it's this. What if the person just forgot? It's a 70-year-old, 80-year-old baseball writer who got his thing in the mail, and he mailed it back just forgetting to check Ichiro. Because Peter Gammon said he did that with Joe Mauer. He said, I completely forgot Joe Mauer was on the ballot. It was right in front of you, man.
Yeah, read the list. It's only 30 names.
If you admit to that slip up, your voting should be revoked.
And that should be the first name you're looking for is Ichiro Suzuki. Check.
You know he's on the ballot. Like, people talked about it all last year that like Ichiro's coming next year. Like,
and now Ichiro is here. And CC Sabathia, which I was back and forth on CC. Maybe it was because he played for Cleveland for so long, but 19 seasons, 3,000 strikeouts. Not a lot of guys can say that. There was the half season, we've talked about it before, where he was just absolutely dominant in Milwaukee before he signed with New York. Had a long career with the Yankees. I think helped them to their worlds. I think he was on that World Series team in like 2009 or something like that.
Yeah, he was, because he had that big run in Milwaukee in 2008.
Okay, they went and won the World Series with New York. Good for
contract in the offseason.
Good for them. Yeah. So he's got the World Series ring.
That was the year the Yankees went all out. They signed like Teixeira. They signed Sabathia. I think they signed they missed the playoffs. Joe Torre retired. Girardi came in and they were like, boom, 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 boom. Like just signing left and right. And now they can't even keep Juan Soto in their building from going across to the Subway Series, the fact that George Steinbrenner would come up from the grave and massacre everybody involved. If he were still alive, there's no way he would have let Juan Soto walk, especially if the Mets were the other one interested in getting him. There's no way he would have let that happen.
Yeah, not a chance. So CC is in. I didn't think he's a first ballot guy, but arguably one of the most dominating pitchers of his era. And then you've got Billy Wagner, who was on his last breath. It was his 10th year on the ballot. So you get 10 years on the ballot, and then you move on to the Veterans Committee and stuff like that. And we'll talk about that in a second with a certain Andrew Jones, who did not make the Hall of Fame once again. But Billy Wagner finally got that phone call. And he's kind of an interesting one because when I think of super dominant relievers, I mean, Billy Wagner's not the first name that I think of. But looking at his numbers, arguably the greatest lefty closer of all time, because everybody else is a righty. Billy Wagner was a lefty, and he held down the bullpen of some pretty good Astros teams. Never led the league in saves, but was very, very consistent in that 35 to 40 to 45 range. And you knew if you were playing the Astros and it was late in the game, you probably weren't going to score very much in the late innings. But good for Billy Wagner on finally getting into it. The phone call that the Hall of Fame social media pages posted was pretty special.
Yeah, exactly. Him waiting to get in. Also the Ichiro one, because I don't think he expected Ken Griffey Jr. to be the one to pop up on that, which was also really cool. So those videos are fun to get to see those pop up. It would give me hope that maybe someday Joe Nathan gets a thought about closing, but I think it's probably just the longevity aspect of how dominant his dominance wasn't probably long enough to be considered Hall of Fame, and the fall off in the second half of his career was not ideal. But he had a run in Texas. He had a run, I believe,
Chicago,
Detroit.
Yeah.
He was in Detroit, and then I think he finished his career in Chicago.
Yeah. He came 377 saves for Joe Nathan, puts him top 10 all time.
Yeah, but I guess
still like 5 million behind Mo.
That guy was getting, look, the thing with CC Sabathia, the thing with Rivera, it helps to wear the pinstripes. That certainly helps your cause. But Joe Mauer got in first ballot, so I guess I can't complain too much, although he was the first catcher to ever win a batting title and did it multiple times and won an MVP. So, who's to say? But CC Sabathia gets in because of, just obviously the longevity aspect. Did you see that interview where he talked about how Harold Reynolds was actually the one who he thanked the most, because he said Harold Reynolds, he thought about retiring after 2017, and Harold Reynolds told him, play a couple more years because you need to get to 3,000 strikeout or whatever the number. Well, there are some milestones that you're close to, and if you hit, you're going to you'll be in the Hall of Fame. Like, you're borderline right now. Like, if you just pitch a couple more years, get some of these milestones, you're going to be there. And he's like, I'm glad that he pushed me and told me to get in. So that was an interesting little tidbit.
Yeah, that's quite it. I didn't hear that story. Yeah. So yes, those 5 guys in: Dave Parker, Dick Allen. And now you look at the snubs and who comes back next year and who's on the ballot next year. And
Torrey Hunter stays on the ballot.
Torrey Hunter stays on by the skin of his teeth. You need 5% to stay on the ballot. He had like 5.1%. So Torrey Hunter will return for a 6th year on the Hall of Fame ballot. He really hasn't been close, but it's always fun to see former Twins on the ballot.
Michael Kadire was on the ballot.
Yep. I think there were 2. It was Torrey and Fernando Rodney, or I think the 2 former Twins.
Legend Fernando Rodney.
Yeah, I think he got 0 votes. he will not be returning to.
Maybe they were trying to put the vote, but like his hat, it was just off to the side.
Yep. And the old timey writers don't like it when you wear your hat sideways when you're pitching. Yeah. But
I do it to honor my dad because
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're talking snubs now, and obviously Andrew Jones and Chipper Jones is going to bat for his former teammate. He says you put Andrew Jones in New York and you win 10 Gold Gloves and hit 400 home runs, boom, you're in the Hall of Fame. And we're putting guys like Fred McGriffin, who has comparable numbers to Andrew Jones. Why isn't Andrew Jones in? Well, I think it's because the Baseball Hall of Fame hates center fielders, to be honest. And
right.
You know, you got the Ken Griffey Jr. bar, and then Andrew Jones. Yeah, he does have 400 home runs. He does have 10 Gold Gloves. A lot of people say he's the greatest defensive center fielder of all time, which is a slap in the face to Twins fans because Torrey Hunter is literally on the ballot right there. And then you have a guy like Jim Edmonds who fell off the ballot on his first attempt. And you look at Edmonds' numbers and Andrew Jones' numbers, and they're very, very comparable. Edmonds has the World Series. I think Jones has 1 more Gold Glove, and you can argue Jim Edmonds is the greatest defensive center fielder of all time. I always remember the play at the old Houston Stadium with the hill in center field, and he climbs the hill and makes an over the just nasty stuff. And Edmonds fell off right away. And you look at a guy like Kenny Lofton, who has a 68 WAR, 600 plus stolen bases, a 299 career average. And Kenny Lofton didn't get in the Hall of Fame. And Torrey Hunter, who I don't think is a Hall of Famer, but has some good numbers, won the 9 Gold Gloves, has almost 400 home runs, 1,300 RBI, the All-Star games and all that stuff. Didn't see postseason success, but neither did Andrew Jones.
Well, he did with the Angels a little bit, at least.
A little bit, yeah. But
they made 1 at ALCS.
Torrey Hunter has more Silver Slugger awards than Andrew Jones, has more Silver Sluggers than Jim Edmonds. And I just think there's some kind of vendetta against center fielders in pro baseball, where you've got 4 guys right there who are very, very good. And I guess very, very good doesn't get you in the Hall of Fame, but I think Kenny Lofton should be there. I think Jim Edmonds should have got a better look. And if you're going to give those guys looks, and I think you got to give Andrew Jones at least consideration. He had a longevity was there, and I mean next year will be the year, because I've got the list here of guys on the 2026 ballot, and it is mid. Ryan Braun and Shin-Soo Choo are the top choices.
Shin-Soo Choo. That's he's an immaculate grid answer.
Yes. So notable 2026 first timers: Ryan Braun, Shin-Soo Choo, Edwin Encarnacion, Gio Gonzalez, Howie Kendrick, Matt Kemp, Cole Hamels, Alex Gordon, Nick Markakis, Daniel Murphy, Hunter Pence, Rick Porcello, Neil Walker, which means Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran will be getting into the Hall of Fame next year.
Yeah,
that's where all the votes are going to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a good. First of all, I saw Matt Kemp's name on the list, and it made me think of that meme where it's like, "What the heck is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?" And that Matt Kemp is not on the Hall of Fame ballot. Get out of here! No,
yep, he sure is. You're getting old.
Matt Kemp is not. Well, it's not even that. I mean, it is that, but also the fact that he wasn't that good.
They put
Hall of Fame votes, then Torrey Hunter should be in the Hall of Fame.
They put everybody they can on these ballots. Like even looking at this year's ballot, let me pull it up here real quick.
I mean, there's a case Ryan Braun isn't a Hall of Famer alone, like on his own merits, but also because of the steroid thing. Like he's definitely not getting in.
I kind of thought Ryan Braun still played until I saw that.
DH'd every other day or something. You know, in the National League, you just could hit. He'd like get a pinch hit every few days, and they'd call it good. Yeah, Ryan Braun had one notable home run in 2008. Nobody shuts up about it.
Yeah, looking at some of the guys that make it but don't do it. Bartolo Colon, Matt Holliday, Brandon Phillips, James Shields was on the Hall of Fame ballot last year.
James Shields' baseball Hall of Fame is that he got traded to the White Sox for Fernando Tatis. That's his only contribution.
Mike Napoli, R.A. Dickey was on the Hall of Fame ballot a couple years ago. R.A. Dickey got one vote. Johnny Peralta, Andre Ethier, J.J. Hardy, Jared Weaver, noted Twins killer. Let's see here. Well, this would have been a good one. Well, there's some good names on this one. Back in 2022, guys that didn't make the cut. Joe Nathan just missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Hudson, Tim Lincecum, Ryan Howard, Mark Teixeira, Jonathan Papelbon, Justin Morneau, AJ Pierzynski, Prince Fielder, Jake Peavy, Carl Crawford. That's like my childhood. Those guys didn't get 5%. They all fell off.
And next year it's going to be like, okay, well, I think Torrey Hunter won't have a problem staying on next year's ballot.
I don't think so either. He's just gonna be one of those guys that kind of hangs on, and
he'll get like 10%, but he'll never get anywhere close to the 75%.
Oh, here's other names. Oh, here's the full list. Let's see: Hamels, Braun, Gordon, Chu, Encarnacion, Kendrick, Markakis, Pence, Gio, Matt Kemp. You also have
Markakis retired. I thought he still plays.
Apparently he retired long enough ago to be on the list. Jason Kipnis is also on the ballot. Matt Wieters, Jeff Smarja, Chris Davis, Kelvin Herrera, and Edinson Volquez also on the ballot for next year. They'll put anybody on there.
They'll put anybody, literally any. Again, Polar Bear, Arlington, Texas .png. Like that thing is there all the time. It's insane. So again, I look forward to next year's Hall of Fame class where some of these players will finally, Carlos Beltran will finally cross the threshold and get in.
Yeah, I think he will. It'll be his fourth year next year. I'm just excited to. I'm not going to go to Cooperstown this July because it's going to be an absolute madhouse because it's going to turn into little Tokyo out there. The entire island of Japan is going to descend on Cooperstown, New York, or for Ichiro's Hall of Fame induction. I mean, I was out there for David Ortiz, and I think the entire Dominican Republic was there for Big Papi. And I don't know what Cooperstown is going to do because I think the most people ever at a Hall of Fame induction ceremony was Tony Gwynn's.
Yeah,
and I forget the exact number, 56,000 or something, but I could see Ichiro doubling that.
Well, and again, too, like you mentioned with David Ortiz, it was popular, but there's a lot of players in the Dominican that have earned their way up there. Obviously,
Adrian Beltre was another one last summer. Yeah, there's a lot of Beltre support too.
But he's the first Japanese-born player, is Ichiro, to be into the Hall of Fame, and that's the big. I mean, obviously, Ichiro in its own right, but the fact that he's the first one is going to be also an extra monumental thing that is going to make the entire island there. Yeah. So if I don't know if maybe next year's the year to plan that road trip, Zeke.
I would take this July off.
How about next July, 2026, for that Hall of Fame?
That one will be a little emptier, I think. That if you want to go to a Hall of Fame induction weekend, that'll be the weekend to do it. Yeah,
that'll be the one.
Yeah,
that'll be the one.
Yep.
Anything else Hall of Fame that you want to get off your chest while we got you here?
Touching back on the Ichiro not getting unanimous, I was looking at the list of upcoming guys that could maybe break that unanimous threshold. Ichiro should have done it. He didn't. And so you're looking ahead to 2027. There's a guy that's going to be on the ballot that year who definitely has all the accolades. He's got the postseason success. He's got the MVPs. He's got the Gold Gloves. He's got the batting title. He's all that. But there may be a little steroid connection is the one thing I'm worried about. But in my mind, there's no reason that Albert Pujols should not be unanimous. But he played kind of in the beginning of that steroid era and did he or didn't he? And there's going to be some old hat that doesn't vote for Albert Pujols because he played in 2002, and that's kind of when this whole situation was coming to light.
That'll be the one. I think he does get in, and it's because he like somebody said with Ichiro, like the fact that he didn't have playoff success is the one thing that doesn't really check box. I don't believe he won Did he win an MVP?
Ichiro? Yeah, his first year. He won Rookie of the Year, batting title, and MVP all at the same time. Just got it off the list.
Yeah, so if you're Albert Pujols, you have MVPs, you have World Series, you have you have like the 500 home runs? He finished 500 or 600?
He had 6. I think he hit 600 against the Twins, I think.
Yeah.
In Anaheim, maybe?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got some, or maybe he passed somebody.
Was it when he played for the Dodgers?
I can look it up here. He got a big one against the Twins.
He did get a big one against the Twins. Maybe that was 500. Either way, because he got one. It was like one of his final, because it was his last year in St. Louis. He crossed like the 600 threshold because it was like getting down to the wire, and all of a sudden the juice balls showed back up, and he started hitting home runs like crazy at the end of 2022, I believe was his final year. So I think that's where he got it. But Pujols
hit a great hit a grand slam off. Yeah, grand slam off Irvin Santana for number 600.
Yes. So what was Pujols' final home run?
Yeah.
Or what did he finish with, I should say?
Look him up here.
Because that's he has all of like the things that will make him a no doubter Hall of Famer. Like
I think he passed Willie Mays at least, so he should be third. Let's see, he's got 703.
Yeah, I don't
remember him. Yeah,
because it was like he had his own long gone summer, like trying to catch, because people were like, I don't know, he might not, and then all of a sudden at the very end,
700 he got with the Cardinals. Yeah,
it was like right down to the wire too. Like everybody was chasing it.
Yeah.
So that's that.
So
Pujols is the last.
He's Bonds and Ruth, the only guys ahead of him.
Jeez. And one of them, at least one of them, used steroids. So.
And Hank Aaron. And Hank Aaron, idiot. Aaron. Bonds, Aaron, Ruth, then Pujols is 4. I forgot Hank Aaron. Oh, we're going to get some angry mail about that one.
Yeah, it's coming from me. I'm writing my letter right now. All right. I think that's going to do it, Zeke.
Yeah.
Till next Hall of Fame season and your next Cooperstown trip. Up until that point, we'll see if we can get you on later in the week too. We got a whole bunch more stuff to talk about, local sports scene and all stuff like that. So until next time, Zeke, this has been the Morning Sports Desk with CJ and Corey, powered by Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade in Wadena. See you next time.
Powered by Wadena's Pizza Ranch and FunZone Arcade. Follow the Morning Sports Desk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And watch every show on YouTube.